Hello and welcome to Pool School, and today we're going to be having a look at playing with topspin. So the idea of the topspin shot is that we hit the cue ball towards the top of the ball, causing it to spin forward, and then after it hits the object ball it then carries on forward, following after the object ball. So to create the topspin, we line up the shot in the usual way, and then we raise up our bridge hand so that the cue is coming into contact with the top of the cue ball. Now this needs to be about a cue tip's width from the top of the cue ball, and you need to be careful here because if you go too high on the cue ball you'll end up sliding off the top of the ball and scuffing the shot. It's also worth making sure that we have plenty of chalk on the cue to make sure we don't end up miscuing. And then we follow through the shot as always, staying nice and still on the shot, pushing through the top of the ball and the cue ball, and follows after the object ball. So let's have a look at this in a little bit more detail. So as always we need to keep the cue as parallel as possible to the table. So by raising our bridge hand up, we're raising the whole cue and trying to keep it parallel as it travels through, making contact with the top of the cue ball. As we make contact with the top of the ball and follow through, this builds up the forward spin on the cue ball. Now when the two balls collide, something different happens here than it does in other cue sports. Because in UK pool the cue ball is slightly smaller than the object ball and slightly lighter as well, when they come into contact the object ball is actually pushing down slightly onto the cue ball. This means that as the cue ball bounces back it's also pushed down into the table and jumps up a little bit, and the harder you play this shot the more the cue ball will bounce up from the surface of the table. And all the time that the cue ball is spinning in the air it's losing a little bit of that forward momentum, which is one of the reasons why it's quite difficult to get as much action on the cue ball with topspin as it is with screwback, for example. And then as the cue ball comes back into contact with the cloth, the forward spin takes hold and draws the cue ball forward. So if we watch this shot being played in slow motion, we can see that as the cue ball impacts the object ball it spins on the spot for a little bit before the spin takes hold and draws the ball forward. So the key to playing this shot well, firstly make sure you chalk your cue well, then get down and line the shot up as usual, and then raise the knuckles up to raise the bridge hand up to come in contact with the top of the ball, and then make sure you push through as far as you possibly can, staying as still on the shot and keeping that cue parallel. Now a common mistake with this is that people will stand up on the shot, so if you don't stay still they'll take the shot and they'll stand up as they play it, and that will cause them to miscue and come off the top of the ball. Or that they'll have the back end of the cue raised too much, so they may hit the top of the ball but they're quickly moving down and they're not really creating any topspin. So raise the hand up and push through, and hopefully you'll achieve a good topspin shot.